Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. I'm James Salvatore, and today we're going to be adding Audis to the channel, starting with the 2020 S4, as you can see here. And in today's video, I'm going to review it like always, telling you some facts you need to know about it, and then we're going to go out for a drive, see how it does on the road. But before we get into it, be sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm because it really helps us out, and be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to be alerted when I post my future content. On the channel, I typically do new car reviews, new car comparisons, classics, exotics. So if that sounds like your thing, be sure to stick around. And with that said, cue the beauty shots. All right, let's get right into things. Starting off with performance. Under the hood, you get a twin scroll turbocharged 3-liter V6, putting out 349 horsepower and 369 foot-pounds of torque, mated to an 8-speed Tiptronic transmission with Audi's Quattro all-wheel drive system, which makes for a 0 to 60 time of just 4.4 seconds, which is pretty impressive for the segment. And as it sits here, this car is pretty well spec'd. We have Audi's full LED headlight system, which is pretty nice. I mean, just take a look at these running lights. Very distinctive. Let's move on to the inside though. When you step into this car, the first thing that you notice is Audi's put some pretty nice materials in this car. A lot of cars at the $60,000 price point still use a lot of faux leathers in them, and the first thing that strikes you are these beautiful quilted Napa leather seats. I also like that on the door panels here, you have the Alcantara to break it up with the carbon fiber inserts. Overall, just a nice feeling to the cabin right off the bat. And when it comes to the infotainment system, we have Audi's latest version of MMI. This is a 10.1-inch multi-touch display, and it is one of the most responsive systems on the market. Right away, you could definitely tell that they put a high-performance processor in this system, because take a look at how I'm zooming in and out of the map in real time. There's a little plastic film on the screen, that's why it's jittering, just because of the film, but you can see that it's loading everything in real time. Very, very smooth and responsive right away. I mean, everything's nice and snappy. It feels very close to what you'd expect out of a smartphone. And you have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard on this car, which will definitely make this car system useful for years to come. I mean, just take a look at how snappy and how fluid the CarPlay is in this car. I mean, there's CarPlay in a lot of vehicles at this point, but you know, sometimes it just feels like a little clunky, a little laggy, because the processors they have in these systems just aren't up to the task. But this is very fluid. I mean, this literally feels like I'm right on my phone. Very fluid, very quickly, very quick, very responsive. And this car comes with Audi's virtual cockpit, which is a completely configurable driver's information display. You'll notice here we have the view button. You could click that for different modes. You can go full screen, you can go split screen. Gives you just a little bit to choose from there. You can choose what driver's information you want to display there, whether it's your song and whatnot. Different ways to view it, which is nice. And then one thing that you'll notice right away with this is that as I'm clicking through the modes, you'll notice that all the animations are fluid. Now, a lot of people have these full digital display. A lot of car companies have these full digital displays. However, the animations aren't fluid, they're laggy or they're clunky. You know, you could just tell they need a little bit more refinement, but I mean, just look at how quick these animations are and how fluid they are. You could definitely tell that Audi spent some time refining this, making it right. Down here in the center console, another nice thing you'll notice is wireless charging for your phones and a USB-C port. Audi has kept in mind the future of USB is USB-C, at least for the foreseeable future. So I like that they included one USB 3.0 port as well as one USB-C. Definitely very helpful, and the wireless charging is definitely a plus. All right, now let's see how it does on rear legroom. Keep in mind that I am 6'1", and I've already set up the front driver's seat to my optimal driving position. Getting back here isn't so bad. I would definitely say it's very comfortable. I mean, I have a lot of extra knee room here. And when it comes to headroom, I would say I'd have maybe half an inch before my head hits the headliner. So if you're 6'1", 6'2", I think that, or if you're carrying passengers that are 6'1", 6'2", I think you'll be just fine. Anybody taller than that will probably be uncomfortable, but overall for this segment, I think that the S4 does very, very well in this aspect. All right, moving around to the rear, pop the trunk. You have 12 cubic feet of cargo storage, but if that's not enough, you can always put the rear seats down by the handle right in the top corner here. Really easy, and then you'll pretty much have all the cargo space you could possibly need. But enough talking about this, let's get it out on the road and go for a drive. The first thing that strikes me right away is how dynamic this car feels. I mean, right away, you just have this connected feel to this car. It feels sporty. It's comfortable because I'm going around in the city right now. I'm hitting, manholes and just normal potholes. And the suspension definitely soaks up the bumps nice, but it communicates back to you. You definitely feel like you have a sense of what's going on underneath you. And I really like that in a car. It definitely makes you feel a lot more engaged with the vehicle. Right now I'm in dynamic mode, which is kind of like their Sport Plus mode. And, shifts are nice and crisp. It gives you a little bit of kickback, when the gears change, which I like. The transmission is very responsive. This isn't Audi's dual clutch transmission. This is their Tiptronic transmission, which means it is a torque converter automatic. But I don't view that as being a bad thing. It's very responsive and fitting to the vehicle, in my opinion. In driving and looking around the cabin, it just feels so modern, in here. I mean, this infotainment system, this 10.1-inch infotainment system is just massive, and it's so easy to read everything. And going around town, the start-stop function in this car is very, very smooth. Takeoff, say if you're in standstill traffic, sometimes at low speeds, transmissions in certain cars are a little jerky. That's not the case here, very comfortable. Now, another thing that I really enjoy about this car are the seats. I mean, they're just so nicely bolstered. It's very, very comfortable while being supportive at the same time. And the leather in this car, having the Nappa leather in this car just, adds to that overall premium feel, and the carbon fiber. It just looks like a high quality cabin. I like that, especially in this price point, that they've made sure to pay attention to the little details, because sometimes, it's like these luxury brands, they put all the faux leather in this car, in their cars, and think that, it's still a luxury vehicle. It's not. The little things matter. And I like that Audi's paid attention to that in here. Now, Audi has 4 different driving modes in this car. They have comfort, they have individual, they have dynamic, and they have auto mode, which just kind of determines, based on, your style of driving, what to kind of custom tailor for you. But I like that they give you the flexible range and options to choose from. But let's get a little acceleration in, shall we? Yeah, this thing is quick. Very responsive. I really like the crackles and pops on the upshifts and the downshifts. Adds that little bit of sense of theater to the car. This is definitely a very nice car. It's comfortable. If you're looking for something sporty, this definitely fits that role, as you would expect from an Audi. Honestly, Audi makes some really sporty cars, in comparison. BMW has gotten a little bit soft these days. They're more on the luxury side, as well as Mercedes, but Mercedes has always been that way. So overall, I'm really impressed with the driving dynamics of this car. In cornering, you have a slight amount of body roll, but it feels very, very managed in this car. It doesn't take a heavy dip. It's just very slight, but it just feels so direct. As you steer into a corner, you know exactly where the car is going. You could definitely feel that dynamic steering at work, because When you're going around a slower corner, you have a little bit more of an angle in the steering, and I'd say once you get over 50 miles an hour, you could definitely feel where the ratios tighten up a little bit, and you don't have to put as much into the steering. Like, yeah, I'd say I'm putting like a 15-degree angle on this steering to get around this corner, whereas if I was going 30, I'd maybe be putting maybe a 30-degree angle on this right-hand turn, which is pretty interesting. Very engaging. We're gonna do one test though. On torque converter transmissions, usually you can't downshift 2 gears quickly. You know, that's usually something reserved strictly for the dual clutch cars. I'm gonna test that out. That's actually really good. I mean, this is the first torque converter transmission that I've seen be able to just kind of skip right to the gear. You know, like the ZF transmissions, I noticed, they have a hard time with that. If you're looking for a car that, you know, strikes a nice balance between comfort and performance, this I definitely would say would be it. In my opinion, I'd say this is one of the more exciting ones in this segment. I mean, you have a feeling of what's going on the road underneath you. The steering is just on point, and this transmission just is right on the money. It really is. And I'm a big stickler for the transmissions. I hate when you hit a paddle and, you know, like, you know, it takes like a second and a half, or like there's a half-second delay. These shifts are very impressive for, you know, a torque converter transmission. And for 60 grand, you would most likely be spending more on, say, for instance, like a Mercedes C-Class or something like that. And you'd be getting a 4-cylinder. So keep that in mind, guys, too. I mean, not many cars in this price point either offer you the V6. I mean, and once you open that sunroof, you can really hear the turbo spooling up. I really like it. Overall, when it comes to sound, I'd say that they've done a nice job with this. And this engine has really strong mid-range power too. I mean, you know, you could be at like maybe 3,500 RPM and lay into it, and you get that instant shove. Whereas in some turbocharged cars, I noticed that in the higher RPMs, they just kind of fall flat on their face, like the power curve is just completely leveled out. But I like that this car has power in the mid to high rev range. Overall, if you're looking for the more driver-focused car, I would definitely say go with the S4. I mean, everything about this definitely, you know, you feel that they kept the driver in mind, and, you know, performance and having fun in mind when designing this car. I mean, the first thing that makes you realize that is you hop in this thing and you look around, you realize, wow, I could actually see out of this car. Most cars today have just all these blind spots, and you can't, you know, just look over your shoulder or something and see next to you. You can't look out the back window. You have to rely on these blind spot systems and whatnot. Not in this car, which gives you a nice sense of confidence, and pair that with, you know, the powertrain in this car, and you just, it really makes for a complete package. I mean, you know, it's responsive, it offers plenty of power. You're getting a twin turbo V6 for around $60,000, and you have Audi's Quattro system, which is one of the best all-wheel drive systems on the market. It'll definitely offer you that confidence you need, especially if you live in, you know, areas where you experience winter. And when it comes to tech, I would say this has one of the best driver's information systems on the market. I mean, or Audi's virtual cockpit. I mean, as I said earlier, it's very smooth, it's very responsive, it doesn't stutter at all, it doesn't feel like it's got a few glitches to work out. It feels very refined. And, you know, having Apple CarPlay and Android Auto on the infotainment system is huge, because as I said earlier, it'll keep the car feeling fresh for years to come, because as Apple and Android send out updates for their software, the car gets updated too. So it won't feel old in 3-4 years. Overall, I'd say this is just a very nice package, and it's definitely something worth checking out, because I would tell you if it wasn't. I don't review every car and say, wow, this is great. But I will say that for the money, this car is where it needs to be. Well, that's all for today's video. I hope it was helpful in making your decision. If you haven't done so yet, be sure to destroy that like button for the YouTube algorithm, because it really, really helps promote the content. And be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you don't miss out on my future videos. New videos now will be coming every Wednesday and every Sunday each week. I'm going back to the 2 upload schedule. I know it's been a while, but you know, since COVID, things have been a little bit difficult, you know, in getting cars, but things are returning back to normal now, thankfully, so the content will keep on coming, guys. But before we end this video, I'd like to say a special thanks to my friends down at Audi of Fairfield, Connecticut for making this review possible. They have a lot of new models in their inventory, so be sure to check them out if you're in the market for a new Audi. I'm gonna leave their contact information in the description below. And with that said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next video.